Hey everyone, welcome to the official podcast for Music Pro Services, episode number 1. This podcast is for independent artists, musicians, producers, or creatives, or anyone who wants to, I suppose, grow their careers, their musical creativity, and anything like that. With this podcast, my aim is to help independent artists, and in the future we're going to have some artists coming in or some people from the industry just to come and help. I have over 30 years of experience in the music industry. I'm going to be, I suppose, talking about my experiences and most likely just having a chat about what it is that we do as musicians and how do we improve ourselves as artists, producers, creatives, songwriting as well. All to, the industry of how do we actually release some of our stuff, how do we record it, how do we polish our music, what are next steps after, release and everything like that. I know there are a lot of podcasts and there's a lot of information out there, I suppose, that have some sort of a systematic approach. But I think with some of the systematic approach, there are some gaps. So we're going to try and fill those gaps. And also I'm going to work from my experience, not only as a musician and artist and a producer, but as a person as well. Connection for me with not only with music and your creative side as well as with other people is very, very important. Self-worth as well. So we're going to be tackling some of that stuff in these podcasts, and we're going to have some really good people coming into some of the episodes. So yeah, stay tuned for other episodes as well. This is the first episode, so this is going to be more of an introductory rather than anything. I'm going to refer to some notes as well, as this is the first podcast, and I want to go through some stuff. I want to be genuine about things that we do here as well. We're going to be totally transparent. And if there are any musicians or artists or anyone in the industry that want to reach out and have a chat, we want to cover a lot of topics. So we're very open to having people on board and having some guests on our show. One of the main things as well will be, I suppose, mental health as well in the music industry. It can be somewhat inundating sometimes and an impossible hill to climb. But we want to make it so, I suppose, the information that we gather and that we talk about is relevant to us and relevant to the steps that we take. Not everyone's going to have the same journey, and not everyone's of the same sort of opinions, I suppose, and thought process. But even if we get some sort of knowledge from people and from other artists, and we collate that and we think, okay, well, we can pick that from there, I suppose that's a good thing, because not everyone's the same. Everyone's got a different goal in mind, and setting those goals also is a challenge. So hopefully we can help with that with this podcast as well, and just enrich the lives of everyone surrounding the independent artists as well with the creativeness and the music that comes out. Now I'm going to revert to some of the notes that I've got here, because as you know, this podcast is unscripted. So, but I do want to talk about some stuff, and the first thing I want to talk about is how when you're I suppose from a recording aspect or from a creating aspect, you get sometimes artists get consumed by the gear and what they have and how they're going to go about using it and everything like that. But although good gear helps, it's not the be all and end all. Sometimes even if you hum a melody, you can record it on your phone these days and you can take it from there. But it's really important to have a vision, a holistic vision of musically what you want to do and what you want to sound like. Sometimes that is also a challenge of what you're sounding like and what you want to do in your musical career. You want to be as original as possible, especially if you're writing original stuff, and that's very hard to do because we all have in our heads all these melodies from what we've heard in our lives. So it's really hard to be original. But sometimes being original doesn't mean actually bringing out a new sound. Sometimes it means just an assembly of things that you have in your head that make it sound what you sound like, and your style. If that's, something that you pluck from here, you've got that sound from there. It's you're collating that sound, and I think we have to be very clear on this here. Being original doesn't often mean that you're bringing out something new or a new sound. Sometimes it's just how you arrange your sound to be. Sometimes it can be a certain instrument that you play, or you think that this is going to enrich my sound, or sometimes it's some chord structures, or sometimes it's just a creativity of not only audio but audio visual as well. Some artists are really good at presenting themselves, not only from a listening perspective as being good for the listener, but a visual perspective as well. So the combination of two can be very powerful. But look, I think what we need to concentrate on as well is the mere fact of when you're creating something, to have something to, all right, where do we go from here? You've created some lyrics, or you've created some melodies. Where do we go from here? So what I found is that arranging a piece of music can be very, very effective, and doing it properly can be very powerful and very effective. So what I tend to see with some artists is that they've got something good, they've got a really good set of lyrics, or they've got a really good melody and some really good chord structures, but the assembly, the arrangement is not quite there. So we have to think about what the outcome is going to be from a musical perspective. Are we going to only leave it at that, at a, for example, guitar, singer-songwriter sort of style, or do we want to make it a bit bigger? So with that, it's hard sometimes to come up with ideas on your own. And this is where collaboration can be a very, very powerful tool. Whether you're collaborating with another artist, or you're supposed to collaborating with a producer, one of my strengths is the arrangements, and I know that the arrangement can fully enrich a piece of music, whether it be just a melody or some lyrics to pop down on a melody. So look, from a perspective of gear, the gear is very important. It's really good to have good gear, but you need to be really probably clear on what you want to do going forward, and not 100% clear, because things evolve as you go ahead. But the arrangement is something that'll help you go from this level to that level. An arrangement is very important to me, because you get to see the building blocks, and you get to hear, all right, well, this is happening now. We're putting this part here, that part here. Now it's the construction. So it's a very important part. Composition and creativity of lyrics and everything like that is very, very important. But to add those spices and everything like that is also very important. And hopefully we can do some stuff on this podcast to actually show how that happens, and how I actually assemble things and arrange things. And maybe we can get some artists in to actually start off from scratch and do some live workshops as to the construction of a song from go to woe. But the purpose of this podcast is to give you that information, and to be very very holistic in the approach as well, because no one process will work for one person. So everyone's different. We're all different. We wanna I suppose go on that journey where it's suitable for the artist as well, where you've got the connection, you've got the tools ready as well, and not only that, what happens after the outcome as well, which I mentioned earlier on in the podcast. But so that's one of the things. One artist, it's hard for one artist to do everything sometimes. I know it can be done. I've done it before, and you're pretty much in solitude working on a piece of music or on an album or whatever it is, and it can be somewhat of a just, it's a different journey, and can be sometimes very well, it is very closed off. So therefore, when you start collaborating with other people, they tend to hear what you're doing, you hear what they're doing, and it can be a very good method of creating. But the most important thing there is that you have to have some connection with your collaborator. If you don't have any connection, I think you're going to be just hitting brick walls, and it's not going to happen. So it's very important to actually know when to cut the ties and say, all right, well, we've tried, cut your losses, and then go to the next step. The other thing I wanted to actually talk about on this first episode of the podcast, and this podcast, I really want to target some topics that are very real in what we're doing, and very important in what we do as well. So emotions, so music is a very emotional driven thing. We can't explain sometimes as artists what it is that we love about it, but it is an emotional thing. It is sounds, it is vibrations, it does tend to reach certain frequencies to the type of music that you're listening to or you're creating. It's a very powerful thing when you listen to music. Like, I think everyone has listened to music before, and everyone sort of like listens to music in certain parts of the day. Whether you're working, you've got the earbuds on, or you got the headphones on, you're traveling on the train, or you're in the car, you're listening to some music. Everything is based on sound. Everything that we listen to is based on sound. Like, even if you walk out, you hear birds, you hear cars, you hear something. That's all interrelated with music. It all comes together as a force of energy, and creating it and being a part of that creation is a very powerful thing, as some artists will confirm. For the new and up and coming artists, it's a very exciting time, because you're creating something that you yourself are creating. No one else is creating, so it can be a very powerful thing. And one thing that I advise is that you never put boundaries around your creativeness. So when you're starting to create, just do whatever comes to mind. In the later processes, you'll find that when you start taking things out, putting things in, and you start arranging it, that's when you start to mold it. But from the start, when you're creating, you're in that positive flow. So it's a very important thing, and it actually brings up your positiveness, and it brings up your energy. It actually you start. I know it's happened to me before when I've created, or when I'm in that mind state. I feel myself floating above things. So it's a great feeling to have, but also it's driven by emotion. So when I say emotion, the emotion that you're currently feeling at that particular time. As creatives know, what you create then and there in that moment is sometimes something that you can't create any other moment. So therefore, with the wonders of technology that we have today, we can record that at that particular time, and then we can copy it or emulate it again in a recording session, or if you want to write down the music and everything like that, or just jot down notes. But at that particular time, having something to record on, like a phone or anything like that, is very vital to us creatives. Whether you're even if you're, whether you're writing lyrics or whether you're writing music, or just humming or anything like that. I know I've come up with some melodies in the car, and I've stopped and I've actually gone on the side of the road and I've recorded it quickly, and I'm on my way. Whether I use it later or not, I'm not sure, but in that moment, that's what I felt that I needed to do, and I needed to record. So that's a very important thing to the aspect of sometimes the approach. The approach comes from within. It's an instinct thing for all artists and all creators. And one thing I do wanted to mention as well is that anyone can be an artist. They just have to really put their soul into it and open up their creativeness. Whether you're a musician, whether you're a tradie, whether you're working in IT, you're always being creative, and sometimes we don't notice it, and we need to acknowledge that every day, and we have to be aware of it, because what we create is at that point in time. So sometimes, I know sometimes life can feel a bit mundane, but I think creating can give you that excitement, that little bit of excitement in that particular moment, and that can build to momentum. This podcast, I want to concentrate on so many aspects of the musical career, but I also want to sort of like revert to the normal life of a creative as well, and what we do and how we do it, and what it is that is the driving force behind what we do and why we do it. So in the coming episodes, I'm gonna want to actually push some buttons and get some information out, especially from other guests that are coming in on the podcast. And talking from experience of over 30 years, there's been a lot of shifts, and that's what I want to talk about as well with some artists, where the shifts, we have peaks and troughs, and what sort of shifts and what aspects of certain artists' careers have been the turning point, and whether we can emulate that turning point for a positive, or if it's worked before, can we actually use it as a formula? Can we use it again and again to actually get to where we want to be? With everything that's happening today in the industry and just in life all around us, with technology and AI and everything like that, we need to think a bit outside of the box. Let's face it, some things are here to stay. We just need to shift and pivot in our role as a creative, as an artist. So yes, thanks for watching the first episode of the Music Pro Services podcast. Again, Music Pro Services is a business that I've built from scratch. I'm very, very passionate about the music industry and all aspects of the music industry. If you've enjoyed this episode, and I'm sure that you'll enjoy the future podcasts, and I know it sounds like a bit of a cliche, but yeah, give it a thumbs up. Support Music Pro Services. Music Pro Services offers a few types of services. I don't want this to be a plug at this point in stage, but all I'm going to say, you can visit the website at musicproservices.com. And then, yeah, we might even do some sessions where, as Music Pro Services goes ahead, we might have some live sessions with some artists coming in to record and getting that production live at that point of time and a moment. So that sounds all very exciting, and I'm hoping that comes to fruition. But let's just see and live in the moment. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for episodes that are coming your way. Ciao.